What's up, Otaku? Digibro here. I'm fresh back from Otakon. And I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to tell you about what it was like. Just like I did for BronyCon last year, I'm going to do something similar for Otakon, partly because I intended to take a lot of footage of this convention and like make a proper vlog series, but I didn't end up filming much. I never do. I always expect to film a lot more than I end up filming, and at this point I should probably just give up on trying to do that every time, which now that I'll have one for Brony and Otakon, there's no real reason to keep doing them. At Otakon in particular, it's mostly because the con is so large and chaotic that trying to get footage of anything is really difficult, unless you were like filming a panel, which is kind of pointless to do if I'm just trying to like analyze the con experience itself and not really the individual panels. I had forgotten how big and crazy Otakon is, because I went to BronyCon last year, and I haven't been to Otakon for the last 2 years. I had gone 4 times before that, but for the last 2 years I've been absent because I was mostly into Pony. And last year I went to BronyCon, this year I went to BronyCon, which was just last week, as you'll know if you've been following my channel. And BronyCon is in the same exact place as Otakon. They're both in the Baltimore Convention Center. But BronyCon only had 7,000 people this year. Otakon had 35,000, and that's with them having capped it at that. They've been up to 45,000 before, but I'm pretty sure they capped it at 35 this year. I mean, you can obviously tell that that's a much larger number, but when you see it in practice, it's crazy, because you're taking a convention space where at BronyCon you could freely move around. You know, there's usually space in the aisles to move, in the hallways and stuff. You can easily get anywhere you're trying to go in a hurry. You can run across the convention center, as I did a couple times, and you could easily find a place for you and your friends to sit around. Like, we have this special area that's outside what at Otakon is a karaoke room, and at BronyCon was an autograph signing room. But on the 3rd floor of the convention hall, there's like a certain area that me and my friends like to sit in. We call it deep space for reasons that I'd explain if you were ever actually at the con, but the area is just a place where you could easily have a bunch of people sit around and hang out, and that's where we stayed for most of BronyCon. At BronyCon, all I really did was hang out with people in deep space, and then at Otakon, the place is just packed. You cannot move anywhere. It takes a long time to get from one end of the convention center to the other because there's so many fucking people. You can't just find a place to sit. I mean, you can sit on the floor in some areas, but there's not just going to be chairs available for you and all your friends. Except maybe an Ota Cafe, which is the karaoke area, which I love going to rest anyways, so, you know, there's often seating in there, but the place is fucking packed. So it's such a different experience, whereas at BronyCon, I actually did take a pretty good amount of footage at BronyCon this year, but because all I really did was sit around and talk to friends, most of the footage wasn't really interesting, which is why I only released a few vlogs. This time at Otakon, I was all over the place. I was doing all kinds of things, but it was too hectic and chaotic to easily get footage of. So the bottom line is, unless you're trying to like show up at a con to document it, unless you're there to film other people doing stuff and not really to do stuff yourself, it's incredibly difficult to film the convention-going experience. But explaining it is dead easy, so that's what I'm going to do instead. And I do have some footage that I can sprinkle in throughout this video, especially from Thursday and early Friday when I was making more of an effort. It's always easy to get footage on Thursday because nothing's happening. You're just kind of like psyching yourself up talking about the convention. So maybe I'll play some Thursday clips right now, just to give you a sense of what we felt like going into the con experience and who was with me.
Mile. Turn right onto Northampton Boulevard.
What's going on, Boyd?
What's up, man? We're on our way to motherfucking Otakon.
Are we now?
Are we? We are.
I never would have guessed that opening up the sunroof now gives us perfect lighting.
Yeah, I did. I was wondering, I was like, why does the lighting look so good? Oh, it's the sunroof. Yeah, that is pretty cool. I'm guessing this is plastic.
Gak.
What you're seeing in front of me, that way, is the Red Roof Inn I stayed at last weekend for BronyCon. What you're seeing behind me is the La Quinta I'm staying at for Otakon. This was unplanned. They just happened to be across the street from each other. What would you say we've been in line?
I would say for a good 20 minutes now.
How long do you think we're going to be in line?
I would say for probably an hour and a half.
Only an hour?
I think maybe 2. Hour and a half.
No, we've made some decent progress. Although that side is where we will eventually be. depends on how fast it moves. If it keeps moving at this speed, it could be like 2 hours. Focus. Focus, you bastard. No, bring your focus inward, camera. Please. Focus on something. There we go. This line is so much worse than when we were in it. I feel so happy. Victor, tell me how happy you feel.
Very goddamn happy.
Happy that even though you're a retard and didn't print your registration, you still got through?
Professional bullshit.
What did you write on yours? Victor with an exclamation point.
Yes, I wasn't sure what to do. This is on Ponycon.
What you got, boy do? How dang in all caps. Mega Shiadu over there. And I've got the
Ice cold water guy.
Digibro. Oh, Ice Cold Water guy's here?
Where?
Oh yeah, there he is.
Oh, that? Holy shit.
I told you he was jacked.
Ribs.
Yeah, he's like very low body fat.
He's changed spots.
So basically, me and my friends, we drove up to Baltimore all over again. This time I had my cousin Boyd and my friend Donson with me. And we stopped at the hotel, dropped off all our stuff, then we drove up to the convention center, got in the registration line. We ended up being in line for like probably an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is quite a while. It's not the longest I've been in, because the first Otakon we went to, we were in line for like 4 hours at the reg line, from like 3 to 7 or something. It was absolutely nuts that time. But Otakon has been trying to shorten down their line times, and this year we were only able to get through the line so quickly because we showed up relatively early. Right after we finished, we looked outside and the line had like gotten to 5 times the length it was while we were in it, and they didn't finish the pre-reg line that day. Now the problem with that is that some people register on Saturday, whereas people who pre-registered usually go, not on Saturday, on Friday, whereas people who pre-registered usually show up on Thursday. They couldn't finish the pre-reg on Thursday, so it continued into Friday. So a lot of people couldn't even get into the convention, even if they had pre-registered, until well into Friday, which is definitely a problem. And Otakon apparently was like really apologetic about it, and they're thinking about moving to just like mailing people their passes so that they don't have to worry about reg lines at all. For comparison's sake, at BronyCon when we went to the reg line, we showed up pretty late at like 10 o'clock, and we just walked in and got our registration. There was no line. No one was there. It was just completely empty because they had already taken care of it all, and it was a quick process. So, yeah, Otakon reg lines were pretty bad this year, even though we didn't get the full brunt of it. But anyway, once we were through the line, then they were also doing something on Thursday called the Matsuri event, which is where they had like a stage set up like a couple streets down, like an outdoor stage, and there was all kinds of like weird stuff they were doing. Like they had sumo out there apparently and all this other stuff. But the one thing that we wanted to go see, specifically Boyd had heard about, was this band called P-Lander Z. And basically, they're like a really loud punk band. They're Japanese, but they're actually stationed in New York. So they're a New York band from Japan, and they were putting on a show there. And Boyd is a big-time Super Sentai fan. He's big into or any tokusatsu really, like Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, all that stuff. And apparently, P-Lander Z's whole shtick is that they dress like Sentai, or at least they color themselves like Sentai, and they're just crazy. Like their live show is crazy. So we showed up, like we got through registration and showed up at the place like just in time for their show, and it was fucking amazing. Actually, one of the best live shows I've ever seen. They played just loud, audacious, ridiculous punk music with lyrics that were just like, there's a song called So Many Mike that was about there's just so many people named Mike, and all the lyrics are just so many Mike, so many Mike. And the lyrics would always be repetitive and silly, but they'd have like all these crazy audience interactions and stuff. I took a lot of footage, and my brother took a lot of footage, so I'm going to roll some clips from that show right now for you to see what that was like.
Now, sit down, everybody.
Sit down.
I'm getting tired. Last week I got happy. Oh, no, wait. Transformer. Thank you for choosing yellow. Thank you very much. This photo is very important photo in the history. United States history. Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Come on!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Come on!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Come on!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Oh yeah! Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos!
Oh yeah! Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Come on!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 taco! Everybody stand up! Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Come on!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah! Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
One more time, taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Taco, 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 tacos, yeah!
Cut that vinyl. So after seeing that show, I was like totally psyched about that band. The fact that I got to see them essentially for free, you know, notwithstanding the fact that I paid for Otakon. And so they had a merch booth set up, and it was them themselves running the merch booth as well. Like the band just got off stage and went over to the merch booth to start selling stuff. So first thing I notice is they have vinyls up there, and I'm a vinyl collector as of January, so I snatched up one of their vinyls and got the lead singer to sign it, so that was pretty fucking cool. It even comes with a DVD. This was like $15 for a vinyl and a DVD, which is crazy cheap, and they threw in, like, they were so excited that someone actually bought a vinyl that they threw in the poster, which would ordinarily be $5, for free. Now, I don't think all of these band members were there, just Yellow and Pink were there. Purple was nowhere to be seen, and there was a drummer as Green, but I don't think it was the actual band member, because these guys all look Japanese, and that guy was just some white guy. But either way, they put on a fantastic show, and I loved it, so I bought their merch, and they were super cool. So then Saturday morning, we showed up fairly early. We usually like to be there all day. Like, our group is like, we're gonna get our money's worth out of these conventions, so we try to be there from start to finish pretty much. What was that?
Greninja.
Boyd, what's the current time?
The current time is 9:04 a.m.
So nothing's happening yet, right?
Not as of right now, unless you want to watch some things. That's I see about the extent of what's going on right now.
Stuff gets started at 10 then, right?
There's two panels that actually start at 10 that I'm interested in. One is intro into Josei, and the other is traveling to Japan.
I see.
His statement is retroactive. I said
In Asuna? Okay, there's gonna be plenty. So Friday morning, I think the first panel we went to was Intro to Josei, which is the demographic of manga that is aimed at older women, which was an okay panel. It had an actually pretty interesting history of Josei manga and how it came to be, followed by a bunch of recommendations, none of which I'd read, so I was kind of interested just because I've literally no experience with Josei, so it was cool to sort of learn about it. Per Otakon tradition, every Otakon opens and ends with Otaku no Video, but right now it's just playing Astro Boy clips. Can't zoom in this mode, but yeah, I don't know why. Where's Otaku no Video? It's just looping the ending theme of Astro Boy. Due to technical difficulties with Otaku no Video, we're watching fucking Voltes V up in here. Hell yeah. Voltes 5, whatever. Big ass robot. And then I think I went to watch Princess Knight after that, which is a show that was done by Osamu Tezuka, who's sort of the godfather of all anime and manga, and it was a series about this girl who was born a girl, but she dresses up as a knight, and as she's basically, the king is lying that it's his son and not his daughter, and she ends up growing up to be very boyish, and it sort of inspired a lot of stuff like Rose of Versailles and a lot of sort of the gender questioning anime and manga that have come out over the years sort of owe a lot to Princess Knight, which was one of the first ones to question gender. As for the show itself, it's very 60s cartoon. It feels really like Tom and Jerry and stuff because it is a 60s cartoon, so didn't stick around for too much of it because I'm not a big fan of that era of cartoons in general, but it was alright. So then we went to this this panel that was about visual novels, like intro to visual novels, which for some reason my cousin Boyd is just really wants to get into visual novels for whatever reason. I've only ever read 2. I read Saya no Uta, and I think that's the only one I finished. I started a bunch and never finished them. It was hilarious because the guy running the panel was this fit, handsome dude with a lot of charisma who really knew how to speak well, knew how to run a panel, and yet knew everything about visual novels. It was just it was one of those cases of don't judge a book by its cover, I guess, but the guy was just, he knew everything. He was really passionate, really into visual novels, and was just this great looking guy, and I was like, wow, kind of expected some nerdy looking dude to come on stage and talk about visual novels, because this was the nerdiest thing ever, is most of them are porn games. So that was interesting, and he put on a great panel. Then I went to the dealer's room. Now, the dealer's room at Otakon is literally the size of an aircraft hangar. You can land an aircraft in the BronyCon room. Maybe you can take one off from there. Either way, it's fucking huge is what I'm getting at. It is a giant room. You cannot see the other end when you walk in. You look and you see this endless expanse of booths and stuff going on. I took some footage here to try and capture the feeling of the dealer's room, so you can watch that real quick. This year at Otakon, I spent twice as much money in the dealer's room as I did on the entirety of my BronyCon trip. To be specific, my BronyCon trip in total was about $250. I spent like $500 in the dealer's room at Otakon. Because I'd been saving my money up for this, I'd been trying not to spend too much on things that I wanted because I figured I'd get them at Otakon anyway, like figures and stuff like that. I tried to justify as many of my purchases as possible as something that there was a rational reason for me to own, even if that reason is not that extreme. Just because I've bought lots and lots of figures, manga, anime, all this stuff you see behind me or you've seen around my room if you've seen my room videos and stuff like that. And most of it, I ended up at some point, I don't care as much about it, so it just feels like empty money spent that's just sitting on my shelf somewhere. So I wanted everything to be somewhat practical. One of the first things I bought was this t-shirt that I'm wearing right now. It is, let me get up on my chair to show you. It's got, Mamimi from FLCL and Conti, and she's lighting his cigarette, and I just think that's the coolest fucking thing that I've ever seen in my life. And it's a good shirt, and I needed new shirts, so that is a purchase that makes sense. I also bought this shirt, which is of Oshino Shinobu from Bakemonogatari, or the entire Monogatari series. Which one does it say on here? It says second season, so from Monogatari's second season, which is where most of her scenes come from. It's a pretty good shirt. This one is a large, but it's a Japanese large, which is a little bit smaller than an American large, so it is a little bit of a tight fit, but it feels nice. This shirt is a large, and it fits perfectly. But I also got a Kill La Kill shirt that was a large, but it's a woman's shirt. And the sad thing about this is that I've made this mistake like 3 times in the past, where I keep like buying shirts just because they look cool and then finding out it's a girl's shirt. So that shirt was way too tight on me, and I gave it to Shade, who said that even for him, Shade is a tiny. He's taller than me and 30 or 40 pounds lighter, so Shade is tiny. But he said like he would only wear it if he had a jacket on over it, like with an open jacket with the shirt, because it is tight even on him. But it's a really cool graphic, so, and he said it was comfortable, it just looks super tight on him. I then also bought a couple of Nendoroids. I got Nozomu Itoshiki, also known as Zetsubo Sensei, from Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei. I don't know how well you can see him because the camera might not focus on him if I put him up close, but I got that. And then I also got from the Monogatari series Kanbaru Suruga, who is one of my favorites from that show. She's super adorable. She comes with lots of books. And I'm not going to tell you how I justified these 2 purchases yet, because I have a policy to not publicly discuss anything I plan to do in the future, because anytime I do, it doesn't get done. If you go through my older videos, anytime you hear me talk about like some video that I plan to make, that is the video that has never been made. The ones that I plan and then like spend a month working on without telling anybody, those are the ones that actually come out, like Ghost in the Shell or something, where like people knew I was watching Ghost in the Shell, they didn't know why. So I also bought, this is the one purchase that was kind of really impulsive and I regret a little bit, which is Tohovania 2. This is a Toho game, which if you don't know about Toho, just go do your own all-day research project, because that's a rabbit hole that is way too big to go down in the span of this video. But this is a game that is, it uses Toho characters, it's a fan game, incredibly well designed, has professional voice actresses in it, and it plays like Castlevania. I guess mostly like Castlevania 4 is probably the closest comparison. It's a pretty sweet game, and I've played it before, like emulated, but I wanted to own it. But it costed me $40, and once I had purchased it and I really thought about how much I'm usually willing to pay for games, I was like, there's no way in hell I'd pay $40 for this game in any normal circumstance, but I was at Otakon, so, you know, sometimes reason flies out the window. Also won't tell you how I'm going to justify that purchase, but you can probably guess. And then this one, the last thing I got on, or really it was the first thing I bought on Friday. I'm not going to show you because the cover is not safe for work. It's porn. There's a place that sells all these doujins, which are fan-made magazines, most of them pornographic. They sell them at Hendane, which is also where I bought the Toho game. And I always want to get one, just be able to say I did, even if I like never look at it. I just like to be able to have some anime porn. So this one is from Bakemonogatari, once again. I got a lot of stuff from that because I really like the show and they make a lot of stuff for it, whereas like the shows that I've liked recently is like Log Horizon and Psycho Pass, and neither of those have any products because they're not otaku oriented, and Log Horizon hasn't even been released in the West. Psycho Pass has, so it's weird that there's no Psycho Pass stuff because you'd think Funimation or whoever's releasing it would be all over that. But there's no Psycho Pass merch, there's no Log Horizon merch, so yeah, I would have instantly bought anything from those two shows, but they didn't have anything. So I ended up getting mostly Monogatari stuff. This is a Yuri Dojin between Hitagi and Hanekawa, which is a great combination. So I only buy Yuri also for the most part. Vic, what are you?
I'm Kinjo from Yoapeda.
Put on your sunglasses.
Yoamushi Pedal.
Yoamushi Pedaru.
Yeah. Biker. Cyclist.
So after the dealer's room, I'm trying to remember where I went. The most relevant panel that I went to on Friday, like the one that was the most exciting, was an analysis of Kill la Kill that was comparing it, basically comparing the series to not only Japanese folklore, but also Japanese history. Like basically it painted the series as a retelling of how Japan dealt with other countries, especially the U.S., when like between the Meiji Restoration and World War II, and then moving into the future. And it sort of draws a lot of parallels between the different wars and stuff they fought and the different social orders they had, as well as a lot of parallels between the gods which were evoked during that period, where like they became a really theological country and like the gods were really important. And then this analysis compares like the characters to different gods and stuff, and all of it was really solid. It was all really well thought out, really interesting, and it added a lot to my enjoyment of the show, because the biggest issue I had with Kill la Kill was that I got confused about the themes while I was watching it. Early on, it really seemed to have this like Ayn Randian theme, with Satsuki being like a moral objectivist. And I got so stuck on that, me and Keg Standard, when we did our podcast, we were sort of coming at it from that angle, so when it switched up on us, we were really confused and weren't sure where it was going. But when this guy who ran the Kill la Kill panel, which I will link his website below, because I think the panel might entirely be available online, when he compared it to this other stuff, then it made the themes all very clear to me, and I sort of understood what the show was going for, and it really enhanced my appreciation of the show, because Kill la Kill was a show I wanted to be a big fan of, but just kind of felt like I didn't understand it. And now I feel like I do understand it, and I'm really psyched to watch it again and get even more into it, so definitely a worthwhile panel. I'll link it below. I also did some karaoke on Friday. One of my favorite things about Otakon is always to do karaoke. I always spend just a stupid amount of time in the Ota Cafe singing songs and doing performances. So on Friday, I performed. First, I did Zetsubo Billy from Death Note because I thought it would be hilarious to just get on stage and start screaming in front of everyone. And then I also did the Toradora opening theme. That one because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it right, but I thought it would be fun, and it was. So I'll play you some clips because I've got film of all of these. I'm not going to show you the entire performance because, honestly, who wants to see that? But here's some clips from those two performances. And if there's anything else I did on Friday, I don't really remember it. So we'll move on to Saturday. Now, something interesting I want to note is that the way that I handled Otakon this year was very different from the way I've handled it before and from the way I handled BronyCon. See, at Otakon in the past, I used to focus really on the industry panels. I wanted to see the guests, especially if they had Japanese guests. I always wanted to see them and like sort of learn more about the anime industry and production and the shows that I like, and, you know, meet those people. And that was great back then. It gave me a strong foundation. But what you realize over time is that those panels are all kind of exactly the same. Especially the Western companies, like Funimation will have a panel every year, and it's the same shit. They're just shilling out their products to you. And the Japanese guests usually have to be really vague about anything that's upcoming and anything previously. They just don't have much to say. And people never ask good questions, so you never get like a really in-depth thing. So I sort of lost interest in those because I understand the industry well enough now. I don't care anymore. So this year I didn't go to any industry panels. I didn't go to anyone who was like any Western distributors. I didn't go to any like guests or anything like that because none of them were that interesting to me to begin with, except maybe Masao Maruyama, who's a great guy, but he's at every Otakon and I've seen him before and I know what his panel's going to be like. So I wasn't that interested in the creators. This time I was mostly going to fan panels, such as the Kill La Kill analysis one and stuff like that. And I had a great time at almost all of the panels I went to, so I would say that was definitely a good choice on my part. I don't remember where I started. Right, it was Satanic Cartoons. There was we had trouble getting into Baltimore, so we were a little bit late to the con on Saturday because Baltimore was like jam-packed with traffic. So I caught like the last half of a panel on Satan's appearances in anime, which was kind of fun, but it was literally just the guy like going through, here's Satan in this show, and like, here's how satanic is he, and it was alright, but whatever. And then the next panel I went to was about Japanese noise music, which is like the weirdest panel to possibly be at Otakon. And the guy running it was fully aware of that. He was like, I don't think anyone's ever talked about Japanese noise music at an anime convention until now. But it was cool because the dude had a lot of knowledge of the history of noise music, and especially the history of Japanese noise music. And he played tons of clips. And I gotta tell you, there's nothing quite like 50 people sitting in a room listening to noise music. If you don't know anything about noise music, then let me link you some Merzbow or something in the description to give you an idea of what most of it sounds like. And I want you to picture 50 people in a room with this just blasting, and everyone's just sitting in silence listening to it. And no one got up and left. Maybe like 2 people did, but everyone there knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. They all knew what noise music was. They'd all listened to Merzbow. They all knew what they were there for. And so it was like, it was weird. I was like, I'm among my people. They all looked like hipsters. No one in there was in cosplay. It was like all the hipster dudes from the convention were there. But it was great. I felt great about knowing that there's that many noise music fans sitting around. Then I went to the dealer's room again, and I spent even more ridiculous amounts of money, so let's go through what I got there. First of all, this is the one purchase that I have no way of justifying in terms of my career, but I really wanted it for a very long time. Samus Figma. Fully posable Samus toy. I love Metroid, I love Samus. I love her because even in Super Smash Bros. I always play Samus, so big Samus fan, and they made this Figma a while back, and I've wanted it ever since it first got announced, so was glad to get that finally. Then I've got another Nendoroid. This one's Miyako from Hidamari's Sketch. Once again, I won't tell you why I'm justifying this, but I bought it, and I've wanted that one for a long time too, so that was cool. Now, most of the rest of this stuff The justification is really flimsy. It's that it makes good shelf candy, because, you know, I use a shelf as my background, and a wall, so I wanted stuff for the shelf and wall to freshen it up, because, you know, you've seen all this crap already. I want to get some new stuff. I bought a random Monogatari box. I ended up getting the slut, Nadeko. If you don't know why I'm calling her that, you just watch the show and you'll completely understand. Yeah, I got Nadeko, who's not my favorite character by any stretch, especially not in that outfit, but whatever. I bought this art book, which is by Vofan, the guy who did the character designs for the Monogatari series. And there's no Monogatari in here, I think. Or there's a little bit, maybe. But for the most part, it's original art from him. And his art style is fucking gorgeous. I mean, the reason I'm willing to buy so much Monogatari stuff is because I like his character design so much. So, and then I bought The Art of Ponyo. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Ponyo by the Cliff by the Sea is like my favorite movie ever. It's my favorite Hayao Miyazaki movie. It might just be my favorite movie of all time. I often say on this channel that I can't watch anything without analyzing it. Whenever people say, like, can't you just turn your brain off and watch it? And I always say I can't do that. I wouldn't say I turn my brain off when I watch Ponyo. I would say my brain is deactivated. I act like a child when I watch this movie. Everything is just mesmerizing and beautiful and mystical and the best thing ever. Like, every second of the movie, I'm just like, oh my god, she's cute! It's Ponyo! Oh, this is Ponyo! And that's how I sound when I watch this film. So, the art book has, like, all kinds of, not only scenes from the film and illustrations, but it also has some notes from, like, the production designers and stuff, so, and it's in English, so I can actually read all that stuff, so I was excited to buy that. And lastly, this one I literally bought just for shelf candy, and it was only 20 bucks, so it wasn't too bad of a shelf candy purchase. But this is a Toho art book that is, I guess, just by fan artists, but the cover is so cool. And I was like, I want that in the background of my videos. And the back cover is cool too, because she's like dead, and like she's being eaten by the insects. I don't know if you can tell what's going on, but yeah. It's crazy, and it's full of like cool Toho art. It's almost all of her, I think her name is Yuyuko, and a healthy dosage of Konpaku Yomu, who's one of my favorite Tohos. So yeah, there's good art in here. All of it's good, but the cover is so pretty that I just really wanted it for my shelf. And then I also needed wall candy, because all those little posters up there, I don't like the way they're laid out and everything. If you've seen my videos, you know what I'm talking about. Just too messy, so I wanted to get some proper wall scrolls, but wall scrolls are huge, so I found a place that was selling smaller ones that I could put out. I got one from Steins Gate. You can see the picture that it is right there. The Steins Gate's a great show that I like. And then I also got my favorite piece of Full Metal Alchemist art. I love Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and this poster, like, just that image is choice to me. That's like one of my favorite. It's obviously inspired by the Akira poster, which is a phenomenal movie poster in its own right, but this one's one of my favorite movie posters as well. So got those two, and very happy with that. I went to a panel that was run by the same guy who had done the Kill la Kill panel from the day before, but it was about anime openings. It was mostly just an excuse for him to show off a lot of cool anime openings, which was fun because I realized that I have an incredible wealth of knowledge about anime openings. I knew, like, everyone he played, like the back of my hand, knew the words to half of them, even when other people were confused, and I was like, wow, I must know a lot about anime openings. Like, a lot of them were for shows I hadn't even seen. I just know the opening. There was one that was Kill la Kill Spot the Reference Beginner's Edition, which was just about, like, exploring the influences that other shows had on Kill la Kill. Most of them, like, the broader influences, but also some that are, like, directly, here's what this scene is a reference to kind of stuff. That was very entertaining, very insightful. I already knew a lot of reference that Kill la Kill makes. Like, I talked about in my podcast how it makes a lot of Go Nagai references, but this panel went into much more depth, had some really interesting stuff in it. Like, my biggest takeaway from Otakon was that I now am a much bigger fan of Kill la Kill. Which, I mean, I liked the show, but like I said before, it expanded so much. And it's interesting, too, because Kill la Kill was, like, probably the second most popular show in the con general consensus. Like, in terms of how much cosplay there was, how much art there was, how much product there was, how many people were buying it, it was pretty much second only to Attack on Titan. But Attack on Titan didn't really have all the... It had one panel, actually. Kill la Kill had two. But Attack on Titan was definitely the biggest show there, partly because it's so easy to come by the merch that everyone had it. But Kill la Kill had a lot of fans, and it really made me feel the passion that people have towards the show, and made me like more appreciate its artistic nature, which interestingly enough is exactly what happened with Madoka at the last Otakon I went to in like 2011, where I had seen the show and I had enjoyed it, but only after I went to Otakon and like saw the way other people talked about it and saw panels about it that I really got like a deep interest in the series. And that's how I feel now about Kill la Kill. Like, I feel way more interested in it than I was before, though I still don't care about Attack on Titan. And there was less Sword Art Online than I expected, and that was a blessing. There was plenty of people cosplaying it, but they weren't everywhere, and I mean, there was definitely the products were everywhere. There was Sword Art Online shit everywhere I looked, but you know, I hate it with such fun now. Like, I love hating Sword Art Online. It's like a pastime for me. So I got a kick out of hating all the Sword Art Online stuff, and you'll see a clip here of me giving the finger to some Sword Art Online stand-up poster things. I am such a complete dork. I caught the tail end of someone called Uncle Yo. I've never heard of him. I guess he's an internet comedian or something, was doing a stand-up panel, and I caught like the last 10 minutes of that, and it was really funny. He had some spot-on stuff about bronies, and he was a brony himself, so that was cool. Did some great anime jokes, and I was like, wow, this guy's pretty funny. I wonder if his show's any good, or what the hell he does on the internet, because people seem to know who he was. Then I did more karaoke to round out the night, because Saturday night is normally when I do the karaoke anyways. So I started off with Until My Body Is Dry from Kill la Kill, which you probably know better as Don't Lose Your Way! And that was fun. And then what we came for, me and my brother did Database, the opening theme to Log Horizon. We planned this at least a month ago, like when we both watched Log Horizon and adored it. Then we were like, and Database became both of our like favorite anime song ever. So we were like, we have to do it. We have to bring the house down during Database. And we did. We put on the performance of a lifetime, yelling our fucking heads off doing Database. And I also sprained my foot in the process. There's a point in the video, which I'm going to show the entire clip of us doing Database. I'll show a little bit of the Kill la Kill one, but I want to display the Database performance in all of its glory. And there's a part where we start moshing and you'll hear me say, shit, I think I just injured myself. And I sprained my foot badly. It's still swollen. Like, this was last night, and I've been hobbling around ever since. Like, it got badly swollen. Victor had to carry me to the car, like, most of the way, because we were in a parking garage, you know, like, a few blocks away.
You gotta keep going until your body is dry.
Always zoom in.
Can you turn that up some? Hey, can you turn it up? In the dusty basement where we met, they surprise me so much because you're talking now. Strong.
Hello, hello.
I can't see you. How are you?
We're ready whenever you are.
Everybody needs to wake up. I know it's late, but we're here to wake you back up. Counteraction rising. Yeah, we are ready for the punchline. There's no use with all your gimmicks. So just stand up, fucking you can't watch push, so won't you compromise? Leroy Cross, we are ready to play. We got the antidote for the damn hypnotized. Please don't let the cover. Who's the in my head, every addiction of the world just spread in the database, I'm struggling in the database. Whoa, doesn't even matter if there is no hope as the madness of the system grows. Breaking the key for the real crew, mass protection reading all but we go. Even longing for this, letting the real one deceive you. Drop the rebel sound, shut the system down, reveal the never found. Get damn all for big heads, yeah, you get damn all for big heads. Katanaru sekai de tagi to kokoro ni hi o floshi. Database, sitting in the database. Whoa, the world of your fiction packing in my head. And the addiction of the world still spreads in the database. I'm struggling in the database. Whoa, it doesn't even matter if there is no hope to say whoa. Wait, what happened? What happened? The thing is all gone! Long instrumental, everybody march! I may have hurt myself. Security is there, talking about the calculator. Talking to you down and they must have a gear data. So now the talking down, kind of face to face. Like any time that you think I think you do no face. Say no. Get them all from big heads, yeah, you get them all from big heads. Get them all from big heads, yeah, you get them all from big heads. Stand up, face, sitting in the database. Whoa, the world of your pictures cracking in my head, and the addiction of the world still spreads in the database. I'm sitting in the database. Whoa, it doesn't even matter if there is no hope as the madness of the system grows. Database, sitting in the database. To say whoa.
So he carried me most of the distance because I could barely walk, and yeah, that was intense. But it was cool because like after the show, like after we did that performance and other people were at panels and we were waiting on them, we were sitting around and a guy came up to me who was a fan of mine who has literally been reading me for over 5 years through like all of my changes from like anime blogging to like changing my site domain to getting into ponies to getting back into anime, and he'd been around for all of that, had been a brony as well. And so super cool meeting that guy. And I happened to be filming something and commenting on it when he came up to me. So here's the clip of me at first commenting on Otakon and then seeing this guy. Otakon at like 1 in the morning, or 12 really, 12:15, has about the same population density as BronyCon had at its most active in the middle of the day.
Are you telling me all of it?
I'm DigiBro. Close enough.
What's up?
Hey man, I've been a big fan since Fuzikana.
Oh, really? Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's like...
That was before the Digibrony days.
Hey, I happen to be filming right now. Would you want to say something?
Hi, world.
Hello, Internet. This guy's been a fan of mine since before any of people who would be watching this video at all.
Yeah.
So that rounded out Saturday, and I'm gonna throw in like random clips throughout this video of other stuff that might have happened that I forgot to mention. But anyway, Sunday came around. I'm still hobbling. I could not walk consistently at all. But I had found out on Saturday night that in the Artist Alley, which I've never been to, in all of my years at Otakon, I've never been to the Artist Alley before. I heard that the guy who did the character designs for Skullgirls was down there. And I love Skullgirls. It's like my favorite fighting game. I love the character designs and the artwork and stuff. And Victor's friend Hope, who is not with our group, but she was there at the con with a different group, she had bought the art book, and he'd done like a sketch in the back and stuff. I was like, dude, I gotta go get a fucking art book from that guy. So we showed up at probably like 9:30 or 10, fairly early. You know, we'd packed up all our stuff from the hotel so that we wouldn't have to, you know, pay for an extra night. So we packed up everything from the hotel, put it all in the car, drove to the con, and then I was literally limping through the Artist Alley, and the guy wasn't there at first. Like, he didn't show up for like a few hours. So I was just like hobbling around the Artist Alley slowly, looking at all the art and just being like blown away, because all the artists down there were really good. All of them were like Tumblr artists, but they didn't have like just the generic Tumblr art style, which that is a thing, by the way. If you see enough people who draw on Tumblr, they all have the same fucking art style. But these people were much better than that. They have more expressive styles. I saw lots of good art, but the problem was there was very few where it was like I loved the art style and the show. You know, like, usually the one, like, it would be, oh, that one's the show I like, but I don't really like that picture, whereas that picture's cool, but I don't really like that show. So, I didn't end up buying much, but there was 2 prints that I did get. As far as I know, these aren't from any show. They're just original art by this artist. But I first saw this picture, and I have a story that I've been planning for a long time. I'm not going to get in too much depth about it because, once again, I don't want to talk about anything I plan to do. But basically, the main character is a little boy who's confused about his gender, and he turns into a magical girl. Like, he gets magical girl powers and does transformations. And this is almost exactly what he's supposed to look like in the magical girl form. So I saw this, and I was really entranced because it's got the sketchy lines, which is something I love, as you may know from my S4 Diary stuff. It's just, like, perfectly the kind of art I like. And then I was looking through her prints, and I saw this one, and it's what appears to be a little girl sitting on top of a mountain of stuffed animals, which there's a lot of art Picassos in there, which I'm a big fan of as well, and there's even a Munchlax, which is my favorite Pokemon, which I didn't even notice until I had already bought it. But what drew me in was that she's wearing a hat that says boy, and it got me thinking, is this supposed to be a little boy who's dressed up as a girl and likes cute things? And maybe transforms into a magical girl? And as soon as I made that connection, I needed these, so I bought them both. And, yeah, so that's awesome. I might even, like, contact this artist and try to get them to, like, do something with my character. But, that was super fucking cool. Then I went upstairs, watched the first 4 episodes of Mao Yu. I forgot to mention earlier, I watched the first 4 episodes of Golden Time, which was okay. I'm not sure if I'll continue it, but it seemed like it was a good show. If you're into romance and stuff. And then I watched the first 4 episodes of Mao Yu, which was really interesting. It's pretty much just straight up a show about economics in a fantasy world. It doesn't really have much, like, going for it in terms of, like, character depth and intrigue, but the economic stuff is really interesting. And I didn't even remember while I was watching it that the original novels are written by the same guy who went on to write Log Horizon after doing Mao Yu. So I was like, oh, now I definitely need to finish this show. So I watched the first 4 episodes. I really want to complete that one. I'm not sure if it has an ending. I don't think it does, but I think they might make a 2nd season or something. So anyway, I'll check that out. I think that's mostly all the anime I watched. Oh, I watched the first episode and a half of Silver Spoon, and that looked really good too. I'll probably check the rest of that out. But anyway, after watching Mao Yu, I went back to the Artist Alley, and the guy his name is Alex Ahad, who did the Skullgirls designs, was there. I bought his art book, Monster Girls, which is filled with cool pictures of Monster Girls, which I dig. And he drew me a sketch in the back of whatever I wanted, and I chose Misfortune because she's my character in Skullgirls. So that was awesome. And he was even like, people were having him like, every time somebody bought a book, didn't matter what price the book was, he was like, "Oh, you want me to sketch something in it?" And everyone's like, "Yeah." And some people got him to do like OC characters and stuff, so that was neat. Cool guy, super chill. But yeah, I bought his book. And that's also good shelf candy, because not only is it a thing I like, but it also will look good on a shelf. And that wraps up all my purchases for Otakon. Pretty much wraps up Otakon. After I went back to the artist alley, we all met up like near the exit. We all got together, got in the car, and drove all the way home. It was a much shorter drive on the way home. It always is, because going up there, you always hit like crazy traffic in DC and Baltimore. And going back, you always hit a little bit of crazy traffic, but not nearly as bad. So yeah, it was a fun trip. It was very different from what I'm used to, because once again, I used to go to like the events, the industry panels, see the guests, go to the concerts and stuff, and I didn't do any of that this time. It was just fan panels, quiet time, going to the dealer's room, you know, a lot. And I think maybe that was sort of reflected from my BronyCon experience, where at BronyCon I literally did not go to any panels this year. It was just me and my friends hanging out, except for 2 panels I went to. So, I mean, that one was a different experience, because at BronyCon I was walking around and everyone knew who I was. You know, it was like, I had like 70 autographs I signed or something like that, and just like all kinds of people knew me and stuff. Whereas at Otakon, I was approached by 5 or 6 people who recognized me from my work, which is still a pretty good amount. I'd actually been recognized twice at Otakon in the past just as an anime blogger, which was crazy to me at the time. So now, you know, it was cool to see people who, some of whom knew me from pony work, and some of them knew me from anime work. One guy got me to sign his DS. That was pretty cool. Yeah, it was very different, and like I said, much more crowded and sort of stifling in a way, but I had a lot of fun. And I should also note that I had the most fun, because like my friends all had a good time, but they all ended up making like bad panel choices. Like they'd go to a panel and it would suck, or it would get shut down, or it would be full, because a lot of the panels that sound cool fill up immediately, and I know better. I know that any panel that has like an evocative name or something is going to fill up immediately. If it's something like AMV Hell 7's premiere, you're going to have to wait in line for an hour if you actually want to get into that. You know, anything that sounds like really cool that everyone's going to like, you're not going to get in unless you wait in line. I only went to like obscure panels or analytical panels. Oh yeah, the other one I went to was Evangelion. Japan loves Evangelion way too much. That was a hilarious panel. It was all just like weird Evangelion shit that Japan has made. I definitely recommend checking it out if you are a fan of Eva, because it'll really make you like it'll give you some kind of reaction. There's no way you could see all that shit and not be like, oh, this is weird. It's like the epitome of a Japan is strange panel, and I would recommend checking it out. I'll try to link it below. But anyway, that summarizes my Otakon experience, and it was fun. I sort of feel more connected with the fandom side now, perhaps because I've been more active in a fandom with the bronies, where when I was an anime blogger, it was a very insular experience. I was just like blogging for myself, you know, by myself, without really like I interacted with other anime bloggers, but not nearly on the same level that I did with brony people, where like I knew all these brony creators. I was deeply involved in the community, whereas with anime, I've never really been involved. I've never been like a con staff. I've never run I have run one panel, but at like a local con. So like I really felt like that was the kind of side I wanted to get into now, like get into the Western anime fandom, which has emerged and become much deeper and more interesting over the years anyway, where it used to be that a lot of the fan panels were more about teaching you anime history, which is always cool, but most of them were more historical and more of like a, here's a bunch of info about stuff, which I already know all that now. So seeing stuff that was more directly analytical, like here is an analysis of this new show, and it was people who've been around for a long time and know their shit, you know, but they're not just talking about old Gundam shows that we've heard about a million times. They actually took a new show like Kill La Kill and were analyzing it in depth, and I thought that was really cool. I didn't hear if the Attack on Titan one was good, but it sounded good. Like there was a really analytical panel on Attack on Titan going on, so that sounded interesting. So I was like, yeah, I think that's the side that interests me more, especially as someone who's trying to become someone in the anime fandom. That was the part that was the most intriguing. But everyone's experience at Otakon is different. You know, because everyone has different interests, you never know what kind of experience you're gonna have. Oh, I also went to the Ikuhara, the visual stylings of Kunihiko Ikuhara, which is the guy who directed Revolutionary Girl Utena and Mawaru Penguin Drum, and the people who were running it were Reverse Thieves, which is an anime blog that I read. So I was excited for that, and it was all about like visual symbolism in Revolutionary Girl Utena. That was really cool too. I think their panel is also available online, so definitely check that one out if you're into Revolutionary Girl Utena or any of Ikuhara's other works. It was a great panel. Whew, that's definitely the last one that I needed to remember that I didn't, so alright. I got it all out. That's good. That's all. That was my Otakon experience. My friends all had different experiences. Some of them went to more industry panels, some of which were hit and miss. They told me some stuff that I thought was cool. There was a great quote from Masao Maruyama, who is like the greatest producer ever. He's like the best anime producer. He was the president of Madhouse for a long time. Recently, a few years ago, left Madhouse to form a new studio called MAPPA, which is the ones that are doing Zanko no Terror right now. They did Kids on the Slope. They're about to do 2 more shows coming up soon. And he's responsible for like a huge portion of all the original anime that's out there, like stuff that was made just to be anime and is really high quality. And he said at some point in his panel, apparently, like, yeah, you know, me and Hayao Miyazaki are the same age, but Hayao Miyazaki is retiring and I just started a new anime studio. You know, I was like, oh, shots fired! That man is a rebel to the end. He tanked his studio Madhouse by doing nothing but original projects that were like artsy and cool, but he knew wouldn't make him any money, and then went and made another studio to do the same thing all over again. So he's crazy and old, and I love him. But anyway, that's like the coolest thing I heard about that happened at somewhere I didn't go. That's it. That's all. That's the Otakon vlog. I hope you enjoyed it, and if there's any clips I have left, I'll probably play them or whatever. But yeah, that's all. See you in the next one.